Good morning. It's Mary Weber, Travel Inspirations with Travel Guru Girl. My website is www.travelgurugurl.com and capricegirlsonthego.com. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about how to plan your next trip or making those travel dreams become reality, making that bucket list and unbucket. So let's talk today a little bit about how we go about that. We should be making a list. So in the past year, we've had time to consider what was important to us, what we should be doing, where we should be going. Was traveling still a big part? Did you really miss it? And if you did, there's probably some places that you want to go. And instead of making them bucket lists, I think we need to unbucket them a little bit and make sure that they become a reality. So where do you start? Well, the first one that comes to mind should be at the top of your list. Then after that, maybe put down 4 or 5 other destinations that you are interested in going to. And how do you determine that? What's important to you? Is it the history? Is it exploring your ancestry? Is it food and wine? Is it going to as many places as possible and ticking them off on your list? And maybe going to all the continents? Is it, food and culinary, ruins? And how do you want to do it? Are you interested in a cruise? Are you interested in a tour? Are you interested in a combination or doing it on your own? So we've all had different circumstances over the past year. So maybe you're recently single, or maybe you have friends and relatives, but they're not interested in the same trip that you are. So again, those are considerations as to what you do next. Think about the type of experiences that you want to have. Is it a safari? Is it food and wine? Is it romance? Is it swimming? Is it, historical sites? So that will determine, because all of those interests are different to all of us. Maybe it's museums. Maybe it's a combination of those. Maybe you've been to a place, but you want to go and spend a longer time there and more in depth without actually touring, but doing things on your own. So those are all should be listed as well. Rank the experiences that you want to try on how physically challenging they are. So as you know, as we get older, some of the physically challenging things might be a bit more difficult to do. So for instance, if you wanted to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, or you wanted to hike the Inca Trail, those are things that you may want to consider first ahead of some other experiences because they may be a little bit more physically challenging. So, and also the other thing that's happened now is a lot of companies are adding more physical activities to their trips. So you're thinking, oh, I'm not taking that because, they don't do this, or there's no walking, there's no biking, there's no hiking. But there is a lot more of those kind of trips, a lot more add-ons. Or let's say you're taking a river cruise, you now have the option of 4 different types of itineraries that you could take, or they do special beer cruises, wine cruises, book cruises, music cruises. So based on your interests, that might be appealing to you. But a lot of them have also added physical activities. So it could be hiking, biking, kayaking, for instance. So there's a lot of different aspects that are available that were maybe previously not available to you. Another thing that you want to determine is how much time you want to spend away. If you're retired, maybe you're going to take 2 trips, one in the spring, one in the fall. Or maybe if you're going to a faraway destination, you're going to do a lot of it, add-ons while you're there. Because the length of flight time to get to somewhere, you've already spent the money, you might as well add on. So maybe you might consider a cruise or a tour, and then you may want to try a couple of other places where the hotels and the transportation are arranged for you, but you actually have free time on your own. So those are fun things to consider as well. Another thing to consider is how much money do you want to spend? Well, if you're considering a safari might cost a little bit more than another trip might. So you might have to change the order of what's important. Maybe you have to save for another year in order to accomplish that trip. Or you saved a lot of money in the past year because you haven't traveled. So that might be something else that you would want to consider as well. The next thing would be if you happen, now, if you're a couple, that's fine. But let's say you've become recently single or widowed or whatever the circumstances might be. You have friends and family, but they're not interested in the same type of trip as you. So there's companies now that they are either decreasing single supplements on certain trips, even on river cruises and ocean cruises. You can get times certain cruises will have them either waived or less amount. So you'd still be able to take that kind of trip. Other trips will match you with a partner, or they charge a little bit more for a room by yourself. So you could be a solo traveler, but you're not by yourself. So you still can share experiences, dinners, etc., but you'll have your own room. But what if you have a friend and you've never traveled with them before? So it's really important to consider what kind of traveler that person might be and whether you'd get along or not. So look at the way they live their life. You know, what kinds of things do they like to do? Do you like to do the same things? Are they neat and tidy in their home? That might be a consideration because maybe they'll be neat and tidy on the trip. You know, those kinds of things. So, but they may not be interested in, maybe you like food and wine, but they like historical sites. Well, the touring might work there because you're sharing a room, but you're off doing a different excursion, that sort of thing. So, but you should always consider if that your friend is really the best travel partner or a family member is your best travel partner. They could be, or they might not be. Anyways, there is options, and those are the kinds of things that I can help you with. So those are my tips for trying to plan your own bucket list, and I would be happy to work with you. Again, my name is Mary Weber. My website is www.travelgurugurl.com and capricegirlsonthego.com. Thanks so much for being with me today, and I hope to see you again soon.